As I am currently enjoying my boomer shooter binge, I realized I never really got into the Wolfenstein series, and while I currently own the entire rebooted saga, I thought I should play some of the older titles first, at least those with mouse control. When I first looked at Wolfenstein 2009, I actually thought this was meant to be a reboot. Trying to look up online to confirm this has only revealed to me that the old Wolfenstein games are a continuity nightmare. Aside from that, I also found out the game became one of many casualties of Call of Duty exploding into the mainstream, getting wiped from existence when the IP changed hands over to Bethesda, meaning you cannot get this game through legal means anymore. It's effectively abandonware. But in spite of that, was it any good? That is what we are here to find out today, starting with the basics of course. Wolfenstein takes us through yet another adventure for BJ Blazkowicz, a now infamous American agent being called in by the Office of Secret Actions to infiltrate the German city of Eisenstadt, a seemingly unremarkable town except for an operation led by the SS Paranormal Division, who have found a gate to another dimension and a source of power dangerous enough that it could turn the tide of World War II in Germany's favor. So it is BJ's duty to join forces with local resistance groups to gather intel and put an end to the supernatural experiments. And that's about it. From what I had originally read and seen, I was expecting a linear military shooter, and that is the case, at least to an extent. Usually I tend to break down game mechanics separately, but in this case, everything is put together in a way that I think I'm going to have to take a different approach. For starters, the campaign has a hub/open world system. While most military shooters structure their campaigns in a linear fashion with a fading transition in between, this game has you traveling through the physical city. On paper at least, since this is a 7th-gen game, it just means you have to reach a specific exit that will take you to the actual levels. I like this. It actually feels pretty immersive to be in enemy territory. It lets you be constantly on your toes because the SS army are constantly lurking around every corner, and you will have a handful of gunfights to deal with.
He's reloading!
It also comes with an extra fun layer, where as you advance through the story, things happen around both uptown and downtown areas. Enemies start getting off tougher patrols, barricades, and at some points you can even see the local rebels engaging them in combat, and it adds to the risk-reward of exploring. As for the main missions, they are an interesting mix. Like I said, on the surface they are somewhat standard military levels, fairly linear, fairly arcadey, with fairly regenerating health. But then, two beautiful magical things happen, and you realize you're in for a treat. First, the guns actually pack a punch. If you shoot a soldier, they are going to feel it. Second, there is no weapon limit. You can safely use any weapon you want to your heart's content and don't have to worry about limiting your fun because the game needs you to use specific guns. Lastly, and most importantly, just as you are having fun gunning down enemy soldiers, the game reminds you this is Wolfenstein. There is a supernatural element, both from the ancient secrets the enemy is trying to dig out, and from the superpowers granted to you thanks to a medallion BJ secures in the opening cutscene, and these change everything. The long and the short is this. Veil powers grant you certain advantages over your enemies, like phasing through walls, using interdimensional creatures as hazards to kill your enemies, slow motion, extra damage, and a shield. The catch that makes those powers fun, however, is that you can only get them at specific points in the story, and also they have a time limit, so you have to play it smart and use them wisely. And you need to, because even on normal difficulty, these enemies are no joke. Even with the trappings of modern military shooters, you can get gunned down easily if you are not careful, and regular soldiers are not your only obstacle.
I'm
Remember how I said things change in the hub world as you make progress? So do the enemies. BJ's reputation precedes him, so the more you lay waste onto the enemy and their operation, the more they start throwing everything they can at you. From heavily armored soldiers, to fast-moving assassins, to creepy ninjas. With the constant escalation, it means your arsenal also starts having experimental guns. Awesome, beautiful experimental guns. I will go into details, but just because of how huge your arsenal is overall, I will not waste your time and instead just show you.
Let's go!
I don't think I need to say too much to make it clear. I love the shooting in this game. I like that the combat can be challenging even on normal, and the best part is that there is progression via the upgrade system. Picking up from its boomer shooter roots, every level, even the hub levels, have collectibles. The fun part is the collectibles in this game comes in the form of money, books and blueprints, and you can use those to upgrade your guns and your bail powers. So you can have a personal favorite gun you can upgrade to the max, taking, for example, the humble but trusty MP40 and turning it into a light machine gun. Money, however, is limited, so if you want to make the most of those upgrades, you actually want to explore these levels, making the combat feel even better than it already is. But of course, great shooting also needs great level design. The levels may be linear, yes, but they pay a great service to both the combat and the setting. You have standard arenas, of course. Houses turned into enemy headquarters, the ruins of a bombed-out area of the city, a train station taken over by the enemy. But then, the arenas become more fun, like a big sprawling underground facility, one where not only do you get to eliminate all the enemy soldiers, but you also get to destroy it yourself as you unleash unspeakable horrors on the people who were trying to harness their power. Or exploring an entire weapons lab where the enemies are testing a giant cannon that you can even get to use against them. It means there is never a dull moment in this game, at least until you get to use turrets. What I think is the only real mistake of this game is that the turrets suck. They have a limited area, they don't really feel like they are doing the damage they should be doing, and at times it's bad enough that you feel like you will fare better with your normal guns. It's too bad a few of those turret segments have you glued to the turret, unable to get off them, because they're basically sucking the fun of what has been otherwise a very satisfying game. That and the game could have done a bit more with a semi-open world style. I remember looking at the map, be surprised there's a side mission marker, thinking we'll get a lot of that, but as it turns out, there is only 5 side missions and 10 main ones. But in hindsight, that was for the best as they put the game in a sweet spot for length. It doesn't sound like much, but one thing you come to appreciate from games at times is how focused they can be. Because often you'll see big sprawling open worlds that are great, but then you start to get lost in the shuffle of side content and minigames to the point you suffer burnout. Or if it's a shooter, the game can overstay its welcome and leave you tired of it before you can even reach the credits. Even if you do the side missions, this game ends at the perfect time, when you feel it is time to wrap things up, and I appreciate that. But what does that say about the story? Being a 7th gen game with some older FPS elements, it has the benefit of being very gameplay focused. The cutscenes are brief, and most of the actual story and lore are reserved for intel files and in-game dialogue. The latter is somewhat missable, but it gives the game a bit of replayability and some extra immersion as you are getting to hear small off-screen stories happening around you as you wreck your enemies. I like it because it doesn't actively distract you from playing the main missions. It's just a fun little optional thing that is there if you feel like listening to it. Plus, if you actually want to replay past missions to get any gold bag or angels you missed, you can actually do that even before beating the game, and you even get to use your weapons you already had with you, so it is in a way a bit of New Game Plus. And in terms of tone, this game is just cheesy charm. DJ is presented and constantly referred to as an American spy, and yet all the quote-unquote spying you get to do in the game is blasting enemies and cosmic horrors in the face, all combined with the villains being both despicable and very amusing.
Surrender immediately! Drop your weapon! Confiscate!
With everything said and done, I think Wolfenstein 09 is a great game. I hate that it got delisted and buried because there is a lot of ideas and fun gameplay here that could have been great to see improved in a sequel. It's extra sad that this is one of those games that is just plain fun with no strings attached. No sketchy day one DLC, microtransactions, tacked on multiplayer, just a game that focuses on giving you a fun old time. And yet at the time it came out, reviewers and players were not kind to it, so this ends up being yet another overlooked gem. On the bright side, this was quite a nice introduction to Wolfenstein for me. I definitely want to take a look at the Machine Games Wolfenstein, but before I do that, I think there are 2 more older Wolfenstein games I want to take a look at, as a way to appreciate the IP that started the entire genre, and also get hyped when I eventually catch on to the rest.